Okay. Fine. Simon Mem Ches Siva. Continuing. So tonight it will continue with possible bekisnin, which is the mezainis. When you make mezainis, when you make hamaitzi. And then it's going to move into Iker and Tafel a little bit. Okay, so Vav. Isa shenisbashla v'achach nefsa. Isa that gets cooked, and afterwards it gets baked. Going ka'achim, beagle, bretzel, lechem gomer. That's considered lechem gomer. But dafka to shenefsa hated. But that's only when it got baked well. So meaning if it got cooked, right? This is like bagels. So then it's considered that's how much. Zayin lechem gomer shebishlu atignu b'chema v'kadomi. So let's say legitimate bread that you cooked or you fried with butter. Afilu hever meno tayar lechem. Even if it no longer looks like bread, you're going shetachu bebeitzim. You smeared it with eggs. And yesh b'chol prusa kazayis. So that each prusa has a kazayis. Din lechem alav. It has a din of bread. And if each piece does not have a kazayis, even though with the bishul it blew up, it expanded. And each piece has a kazayis. Or it got stuck together through bishul, and it became one big lump. Even if it still looks like bread, it doesn't have a din of bread. You only make a bracha bari minim zaynis, lachreim alamichya, and afterwards alamichya vafilu achal kedei svia. Even if you ate enough to be full. So there's a lot. There was a lot of information there. Like we said, there's lots of information. This basically Zion. I should have said this before, but Zion is referring to croutons, right? You make croutons.
Well, not French toast?
French toast, croutons, matzah brai, knedel, well, not knedelach exactly. Matzah brai, what else? All those type of things, right? So if it's less than a kazayis, and you mixed in other, it's talking about where you had regular bread. Now you're taking your leftover bread. So French toast, so it's bigger than a kazayis. So then you for sure have to make. You for sure are making how do you call it, hamaitzi on that. But if it's smaller than a kazayis, or it gets all smashed together like stuffing and all that type of thing, then it has a din of, and then it's all going to get mezainis, right? And that's even if you eat kedei svia. That's the bigger chiddush. Even if you eat a ton of it, it's still a problem. Well, not a problem. It's not, meaning it's mezainis. And if you didn't cook it, you poured hot liquid on it. Havi suffik bracha, then it's a suffik bracha. If ira is considered bishul for this or not, and don't eat this only during the suda. And if you didn't cook them, you soaked it in liquid, or in soup, then then it's tali. So this is talking about where you take bread and let's say somebody decides to take bread or a croutons and put it into the soup. So now you have to make a motzi on the soup. Right? So it's tali whether it has the form of bread or not. It has a din of lechem gomer. If it doesn't look like bread, then it does not have a din of lechem, right? So if you take croutons that came from bread, leftover bread, and it looks like bread when it's in the soup, I don't know. To me, it sounds like you might have to make hamaitzi. Certainly when it goes into a salad, right? meaning or either that or let it sit in there until it no longer looks like bread. Then you won't have to. If it doesn't look like lechem, doesn't have a din lechem. And then even if you eat a lot, you only make mezainis. Let's say the liquid starts looking different because of the prusas. It's yedua that it lost its form of bread. If you soaked it in red wine, it doesn't have a din lechem. Oh, I should have mentioned this. Maybe I should have mentioned it yesterday, today. Okay, as long as Baruch Hashem, I remembered. What's the bracha on wraps? Are wraps hamaitzi or are wraps mezainis? So the big issue with wraps it's flour and water. I mean, with a lot of other junk, but it's flour and water. But the question is, does that look like lechem? Those that say it's mezainis say it doesn't look like lechem at all, and others say it does look like lechem. So that's that part of, yeah. Isa ches isa shenilosh afilu b'mayim levad ubishla. If you have dough that
One
was
second,
kneaded,
you didn't give a psak.
I don't have a psak. I have no idea what to do. When I eat a wrap, unless I'm traveling and I'm nowhere near water and I'm starving, then I'll make a mezainis. If not, I'll wash on bread before I eat a wrap. That's my mahalach. Okay, ches isa sheniloisha. If you have dough that's kneaded, KNEADED, afilu mayim levad, even with water, ubishlan, then you cooked it. Even if you eat a sheer svia. Right? So that's also donuts and those type of things. So they're made from the 5 grains, and you cook them. Even if you ate a sheer svia. And if you eat it with soup, and dough that you eat with soup, or milk that it gets cooked in it. Now he segues into Iker v'tofel, right? So it says he's talking about mezainis and he's saying it's alam. What?
Is he also saying that it's mutter to make milchik bread? He said before you cook in butter.
No, you're putting it into milk. Here you basically cereal. This is the cereal sugya.
Right? He did say before that you fry it in butter.
He did, yeah. But I'm assuming in that case, it's small, small pieces. He's doing it beheter or different pieces. I'm assuming. But here we're talking about something else. Now he segues into if you eat this mezainis with soup, right? So now that we're saying you have in the situation where you're going to have the croutons are mezainis. So we know that the ikr, you always make a bracha on mezainis is the ikr, right? So do you make mezainis? So when you're eating a soup and it happens to have some croutons in it, so you make mezainis now too. And cereal. So so those mezainis foods that you're eating in soup or with milk, he's saying even when you cook in it, you do not have to make a bracha on the soup and on the challah, and it's bottle to the foods. But if you only cook a little bit of these levivas and these grisin, right? So I don't know exactly how you teach levivas and grisin, but there's some sort of mezainis things. And your ikar kavana is to have the milk. You just have, you just put these in order to give it a crunch, let's say. And they're not bottom of and shakol, and then you would make shakol, right? So what does this get us to? This gets us. Well, let's finish first. Even though you're eating the mezainis, the liquid and the milk is not baluk. Even shein ikr. The ikr is that you're eating the soup, not the croutons. The best thing to do is first drink a little milk or drink a little soup. Then drink a little bit. And after that, make a bracha on these little pieces of mezainis, barimina mezainis. Shegam hema einon tefilus, because they're also not tuffle. Tuffle means how do you touch tuffle? They're not the main thing. They're what's it called? There's like sub. They're sub. They're not the main thing. Subordinate, let's say. Yeah. Shegam hema einon tefilus. Right, as he's saying, first drink a little bit, make shahakol drink a little bit, then go eat some of these pieces of mezainis. They're also not tuffle, even though your kavan is not specifically to eat those pieces of mezainis. It's considered a grain. It's not going to. Grain is never going to become a tuffle to lose the bracha. As long as it's there to give tam. Right? So
he's saying the dafka in this case to make the shakal then the mezainis, even though usually you do it the other way around.
It seems, yeah, because it seems like the ikar is the soup here. I think the ikar here is the soup.
Yeah, not, even so, you should make a mezainis before shakal.
Correct.
Correct.
No? Right. No, that's true.
Is that because if you make a mezainis, the shakal would be a shayla?
Probably. I would think you're correct. Yeah. Okay. Test. Yes. Foods that are made from matzah ketusha, ground up matzah, or from bread, mafar kagon kuftais or levivos, knedel, kremzel, shema'arvim noisim b'shuman ubeitzim v'cholov. You mix it in with fats and eggs and milk. And you knead them together and you cook them. You make a bracha on them, and afterwards, alamichya. Yeah, that's okay. That's all those types of knedel. Yud dvarim mimine dagon, things made out of grain. Shebishlanim shar minim, and you cooked it together with other minim kamashu. Haderach shemavashim perura psisim isa and pilin akitnias. They cook crumbs of dough with beans, psisim imafuna chumus, farful and vendla erbsin. Min echad who arrive, even if one min is the majority, since each piece is separated, sarach levarach shtei brachas. Tanish mevarach tchila aktsas perura isa, bari mina v'zanis v'aychlan. Here it does it in the order. Then you can eat them together. So this is the big cholent issue, right? What bracha do you make? You have all sorts of things. You got potatoes and you got meat and you got beans and pashtus over the Kitzur. The way the kids are saying to do it is you separate each one and make a bracha, and then you could eat them together. But right to tafel vein tzarich levarach, and the liquid in the cholent that you would not make a sha'akol on that because that's tafel. Fine. But if it gets smashed and mixed together, even though the kemach is only a muat, like we know, mezainis is the most chashuv. But that's only when you put the wheat in there in order to give taste. But if the only reason why you're putting in the wheat or flour is to make it stick together, You take like some sort of side dishes, and you mix in a little flour. And same thing if you bake some sort of cake out of almonds and sugar and eggs. You put in a little flour, just as a binder. That's what it's called. Then it's bottle. So the classic example of this is licorice, right? So licorice is lots of sugar, and they need something to bind it with or to make it into that licorice. So they use wheat. So it used to be that many held that, oh, it's wheat in there, so you make a mezainis on licorice. Most poskim, as far as I know, say that that wheat is not in there for taste whatsoever. It's only in there to act as a binder, and therefore the bracha, the proper bracha on licorice is sha'akol. The next one is schnitzel, right? So you fry schnitzel. You make mezainis because it's flour, or do you say sha'akol? What? So it depends what you have to know why you have the coating, the bread coating around the schnitzel. If it's there for taste, then the bracha on schnitzel is mezainis. If it's there just because you can't fry chicken without having some sort of coating, I don't know why you can't, but it seems like you can't, or but most people don't. I don't know. So then mamela, then you would not make a bracha mezainis. As far as I understand, most in America say you make sha'akol, and I think in Eretz Yisrael there are more that say mezainis, but that's because there's much less schnitzel in the ones in Eretz Yisrael, because the chicken is more. But my daughter had a test, and the teacher, like, she didn't do, it's a halacha test, and I did it with her, and she got like an 80 or a 90. It was like, oop, I'm in trouble. But one of the answers on the test was that the bracha on schnitzel is mezainis. Well, that's why I didn't do 100 on that one, because I told her sha'akol. So I don't know how they deal with these halacha tests in school, right? But because there's so many different shitas. Okay, but that's basically the sugya with mezainis mixed in. Some sort of liquid that you cook and you fix it with a little bit of roasted wheat that's fried with butter. You don't make a brach on the roitiv except for sha'akol. Avol, because it's basically a liquid, right? Aval imhu bayreres apirurim hamatugnin v'oichel mifnei. But let's say you decide to take out the crumbs, whatever mezainis is in there. You take it out and you eat it by itself. Tzarich levarach aleim v'arim minei mezainis.
Why would that not be ha'adama? Why would that be mezainis?
I don't know. It's very hard to figure out what these foods are that he's talking about. So
he said grains. They're all grains that are cooked.
I don't know if they're whole grains or they were dough before. I don't know. You have to make an ala michya. All right, so then that also gets into what bracha do you make when you eat cereal. All right, so most say you just make a bracha on the cereal. You don't make a bracha on the milk, because the milk is tafel to the cereal, and that goes even if after you finish the cereal, you listen to your mother and you drink the milk. Right? Even so, you still would not make a bracha on the milk. Yeah. Okay. We'll stop over there.